Good morning, everyone. Holly and Maya here with Story Imprinting. I'm here with Anne-Marie Hoftanning, my fabulous business partner. Good morning. How are you?
Morning. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Doing well. Happy Monday. So I wanted to hop on here because you mentioned that you watched a very interesting documentary last night, and I want to hear about it.
Yeah, so we were talking this morning about the Ron Artest story, A Quiet Storm, which is a documentary on Prime, I believe, that I watched last night. And I thought it was exquisitely done from the standpoint of just great storytelling, which I think is enough reason to watch it. I also think it is a rare moment in which we were able to see somebody who is a powerful male athlete talking about mental health in a very public, intimate, shame-free way, which I thought was pretty radical. And we often say in training, like, the right story at the right time can save somebody's life. And your own journey is somebody else's survival guide. And for me, it was just a gorgeous expression of better understanding people who have these kinds of reactivities and where the origin of that might be coming from as human beings, to better understand that and have more compassion, but also to understand that, people are struggling with this who don't necessarily look like they have anything to worry about in the world, but that's because you don't know anything about who they are and where they came from or what their journey is.
Yeah, and I had mentioned to you earlier, and I'll say it again here, I grew up in Indiana, and I wouldn't say that I was either, I think I was in college or law school when Ron Artest was having his sort of very public, some very public, what's the word I want to, not meltdowns, but just behavior that was very concerning, right? And so, in any big city that has a professional sports team, right, the local paper is hyper focused on what's going on with the players and the team. And I remember there was like relentless Indianapolis Star coverage of Ron Artest. And I believe that the columnist covering the Pacers at the time, was calling for compassion and calling for, let's take a closer look at what's behind this. But, that was, how many years ago was that? 15 years ago plus?
Yeah, I think it was, I think it was probably about 15 years ago, something like that.
And the climate was very different. In talking about mental health and in being public with struggles. And it's popped up on my Amazon Prime or my Netflix, whichever one, and I've bookmarked it because I want to watch it. But I love the point that you're making about just the storytelling piece, right? And both the medium and the vulnerability. It seems like he's extremely vulnerable from what I've just seen from the trailer. Would you agree with that?
Totally vulnerable, totally taking ownership, but also examining like why he is in this position. This is, there's some genetic components to it. There's some, sort of environmental components to it. But what I thought was so important and critical is there's somebody at some moment in the documentary who says, athletes come back from, drug abuse, sex addiction, scandal. He goes, they don't come back from mental health issues. That never happens. Like, you don't get to have that problem. That's not an acceptable problem to have. And I think it's still true. And I think the reason it's so important that he's sharing this story as well is, do you think this isn't going on every day in corporate America? I mean, we talk about this all of the time. There is such an absolute epidemic of, I think, bullying, abuse, incredibly destructive behavior that we just don't address in corporate America, unless it's through HR and but what we don't do is we don't really examine like what's going on for people and is there a path through. And I will also say, great credit to, I believe it was the Pacers where he began, who really gave him a lot, who really tried to work with a lot of early foundational intervention and support. I mean, he needed a lot more and over time got it. And obviously it was a process, but I would also just say that his work environment acknowledged it and did actually try to provide quality care for him, or so it seems, and he does in fact say that. So I just say that is also, I think that this is a problem that we see everywhere. It's not like some unique exotic animal, but I don't think that we talk about it very often, and I don't think that there's any space for it, certainly in the professional environment, that isn't sort of washed in shame.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, we will link to the documentary in the comments here on the video so y'all can watch it. But I so appreciate you bringing this up. I'm definitely going to have to watch it. I'm having surgery Wednesday, which Anne Marie knows. And so I'm getting the Netflix queue ready with things to consume. But thank you so much. And this is, as always, a wonderful chat. If you are watching this and you liked what you saw, give us a like, give us a comment, and feel free to just scroll the channel and see what kind of videos we have that touch on a variety of different professional development topics around narrative. We make these videos directly in response to what our viewers and listeners want to hear about. So if there's something that you'd like us to cover, please let us know. And in the meantime, be good to one another and take good care. Bye, Anne Marie.
Bye.